Lars Joachim Mittank was an ordinary man with an ordinary life. A young German in his late 20s, born in Berlin, with friends, a family, and plans for the future. On a summer in 2014, he traveled to Bulgaria for what was meant to be a carefree vacation at the Golden Sands Resort, a popular destination on the Black Sea coast. A week of sun, laughter, and relaxation. But in the days that followed, something ordinary would transform into something extraordinary, terrifying, and inexplicably mysterious. The first days of the trip were like any other. Beaches crowded with tourists, the smell of salt water and sunscreen in the air, children playing nearby, couples walking hand in hand. Lars laughed and joked with his friends, played football on the sand, took photos by the water, and swam in the warm sea. He seemed relaxed, carefree, like so many other young travelers enjoying their summer break. Nothing suggested that in just a few days his life would vanish before anyone's eyes. On July 6th, a seemingly insignificant event changed the course of his holiday. A dispute at a local bar over a football match escalated. Words were exchanged, voices raised. Lars was struck in the face, sustaining a ruptured eardrum. It was a minor injury, but enough to alarm the local doctor, who advised against flying and prescribed antibiotics. He was told to rest. His friends returned to Germany as scheduled, leaving him behind to recover. That decision, that single day spent alone in a foreign country, would be the fulcrum on which the mystery of his disappearance would pivot. Alone in a small hotel near Varna Airport, Lars's behavior began to change. Surveillance cameras captured him pacing the lobby, peering out of windows, looking over his shoulder, checking doors repeatedly. Staff described his demeanor as nervous, anxious, almost paranoid. He appeared tense, as though unseen eyes were tracking him. At one point, he hid inside an elevator, crouching, waiting. Nobody knew why, and Lars did not explain. Late that night, he called his mother, Sandra Mittank. The call was brief, whispered, almost frantic. "Mom," he said, "I think someone is trying to hurt me. I don't know who I can trust. Please, help me." His voice trembled, tight with fear. She could hear his heartbeat through the phone. It was the sound of panic. Sandra would later describe the call as one of the most terrifying moments of her life. She could not imagine what had overcome her son. The next morning, July 8th, Lars checked out of the hotel, carrying his luggage toward the airport. Cameras captured him walking calmly, as if nothing was wrong. But beneath the calm, something had shifted. Inside the terminal, he appeared anxious, repeatedly glancing around, moving from one spot to another, speaking with staff and strangers. Then, without warning, he shouted, "I don't want to die here. I have to get out." And with that, Lars ran. He abandoned everything, his wallet, passport, phone, luggage, and sprinted through the parking lot, climbing a fence, disappearing into the forest that bordered the airport. That moment was captured on surveillance footage and has since been analyzed millions of times by viewers across the world. His movements were erratic, desperate, and completely inexplicable. What drove him to flee so suddenly remains unknown. The local police and international authorities immediately launched an extensive search. Helicopters scanned the forested area. Search dogs combed every clearing. Volunteers and authorities explored every path. But no trace of Lars was found. No footprints extending beyond the initial perimeter. No discarded clothing or items. No signs of struggle. It was as if he had simply vanished. The case quickly attracted global attention. The footage of Lars running through the parking lot went viral online, shared and dissected endlessly. Every frame was scrutinized. People debated what they saw, the fear in his eyes, the speed of his movements, the suddenness of his flight. Amateur sleuths speculated on medical causes, the stress of injury combined with antibiotic side effects possibly triggering paranoia. Others argued that he may have been genuinely pursued by someone unknown. Some suggested he had suffered a psychotic episode, brought on by the stress of being alone in a foreign country, compounded by injury, fatigue, and medication. Others believed that darker forces might have been involved, that real danger had existed in that airport. Still others proposed more fantastical theories, that Lars had staged his disappearance, that he had sought a new identity, or that he had deliberately vanished to escape his life. None of these claims have ever been proven. Over the years, sightings of a man matching Lars's description surfaced across Europe. A truck driver claimed to have picked up a hitchhiker near Varna, whose features resembled those of Lars. Other reports described a man who appeared older, bearded, and traveling along highways in Germany and neighboring countries. Despite these leads, none were confirmed, and the trail grew cold. Sandra Mittank, his mother, never wavered in hope. She traveled to Bulgaria multiple times, reviewed surveillance footage, contacted authorities, and followed every possible lead. She believed that Lars was alive somewhere, perhaps frightened, perhaps lost, perhaps unable to return. "I know my son," she said. "I know he would never abandon us like this without a reason. Somewhere, somehow, he is still out there." Psychologists and true crime experts have analyzed the footage and events. They suggest that a combination of medical factors, psychological stress, and environmental triggers could have produced the panic observed in Lars's final moments on camera. Others point to the human need for pattern recognition and theorize endlessly about unseen threats, unseen pursuers, or even conspiracy. The debate continues to this day. The forest that swallowed Lars remains a symbol of the unknown. Fog drifts between the trees, shadows stretch long and mysterious, and silence prevails. It was the same silence that greeted the search teams, the same silence that seems to mock every theory, every effort to explain his disappearance. Even now, years later, the footage continues to captivate viewers around the world. Every year brings renewed interest, new amateur investigations, and fresh speculation. Forums and YouTube channels revisit the airport video, debating the reasons for his panic, the possible threats he perceived, and the choices he made in his final public moments. Lars Mittank's story is more than a missing person case. It's a lesson in vulnerability, fear, and the fragility of everyday life. How quickly a seemingly ordinary day can transform into something extraordinary and terrifying. How a single decision to stay an extra day, to recover from a minor injury, can cascade into incomprehensible consequences. For those who watch the footage, the question lingers: what happened after Lars ran into the forest? Did he survive? Did he become lost, disoriented, or injured? Did he become lost? Did he willingly disappear? Or was he the victim of forces unseen? The answers remain elusive. Every new sighting, every new theory only deepens the mystery. For Lars's mother, for the investigators, and for the millions who have seen the footage, hope and fear exist side by side. They cling to the possibility of discovery while confronting the chilling reality that Lars Mittank may never be found. The Vanishing of Lars Mittank is a cautionary tale of modern travel, human psychology, and the enduring allure of unsolved mysteries. It reminds us that even in a world filled with cameras, records, and constant surveillance, one person can vanish without a trace. That fear, whether imagined or real, can overwhelm rational thought. That ordinary lives can spiral into extraordinary mysteries. And so, we watch, we analyze, we wonder. We remember the last sighting, a young man in a yellow shirt, abandoned luggage behind him, sprinting into the dark forest, terrified, desperate, and utterly human. And we ask the question that has haunted the world since July 2014. Where is Lars Mittank? No answers, only questions. No closure, only fascination. And the haunting certainty that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, at least not yet.